Next, the stablecoin space has another newcomer. This time, it's the buy now, pay later platform Klarna. The company this morning announced the launch of Klarna USD in an effort to make payments faster and cheaper. Klarna mentions this is just the beginning of the firm's crypto initiatives, and it has more announcements in the coming weeks. The company went public in September, but has since slid from its IPO price of $40. As of noon today, shares were little changed, trading at $29.25.
Danny was talking about gold, non-fiat currencies. I want to ask you about digital assets, digital currencies, and maybe inelegantly wed this to treasuries. So there is now, it seems like, more interest in stablecoins, and it strikes me that if that persists, that would be good for the U.S. Treasury market. How do you think that through?
Yeah, the funny thing with stablecoins is it basically shifts funding to the U.S. Treasury away from the consumer in a bank, right? Because what are you competing with? You're competing with bank deposits, bank checking accounts, right? And so the stablecoins are mostly backed by U.S. Treasuries. So for sure, and I think, but the number's still like 300 billion or something in backed on the stablecoins, and so. I think the longer term question is, do the banks use the technology there of blockchain to then be part of their deposit mechanism, and does it shift it back to the bank balance sheets? I would get worried if too much money left banks into the stablecoin market, and such that the funding mechanism is U.S. government versus the end consumer, right? Because what do banks do with that money? They go lend to people. They lend to corporations. They lend to individuals. And so that's where I think more of the stablecoin issue. And then I thought you were going to sort of on the Bitcoin as a diversification on the reserve currency. Look, I used to be negative on Bitcoin in the sense that I'd say, well, as soon as it gets too big and threatens the U.S. dollar, then the U.S. will just make it illegal, like China did. But then kind of came around when I talked to folks. I remember talking to somebody in Israel who said my parents and grandparents had the government take away their money. They'll always keep a percentage in Bitcoin, not in Bitcoin ETFs, but Bitcoin keys where nobody can get to it. I had folks in the Middle East say, if I say the wrong thing, I worry that my accounts would be frozen. So it is still a fear currency that is out there in markets. Big buyers in Turkey, countries with big inflation, you tend to get big buyers of Bitcoin. So I think that is still, it is a viable currency, but not a threat to the dollar. So I don't think there's a question about the dollar dominance. I think there's a question about how much it gets chipped away, right? And you definitely see that. And you see that. And honestly, I actually think there's a lot of discussion about how tariffs and can you trust the U.S. has impacted it. But I actually go back to, in talking to some central banks, when Russia invaded the Ukraine and the U.S. froze assets of Russia in U.S. dollar, there was this could be us. And so I actually think it started a little bit there where people said, okay, we need to start to diversify this a bit. And then you've obviously had the comments on, how can we trust the U.S. in how they behave in certain ways, and you see it, right? You see, like when when Russia was taken away from SWIFT, you now see contracts being done. India's buying oil from Russia in rupee, denominated invoicing. China and Russia are operating in the yuan. So that's the chipping away component. You still have the dollar dominance.
For you, as we see that debt grow in the degree which Danny was talking about a moment ago.
Yeah. Look, I think the U.S. deficit is a concern, right? But it's not a concern until it becomes a problem. And so I think that it's proven to, like I say, the Fed can control the short end of the curve. They can't control the long end of the curve. And of course, the concern is, if the U.S. is adding $2 trillion a year in debt, and Japan and China are two largest external holders of U.S. treasuries, and they haven't been increasing, and between the two of them, they basically own about $2 trillion. You're going to have to find buyers. The good news is it's still sort of viewed as the risk-free investment. So it's more around what's the price that you get buyers versus, any kind of failed auction. So I think that it's still, my worry is over the longer run, does it crowd out other investment opportunities, not that the U.S. can't get funded.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. We have Klarna, the Fintech app, now adding a stablecoin. It definitely should not surprise you. Don't forget they did a partnership earlier with JP Morgan. But the buy now, pay later is replacing credit cards. And you have to look to the fourth industrial revolution. If there's not a lot of jobs and you're getting a set amount of income, they're not going to allow you to have credit. Those $20,000, $50,000, $75,000 credit cards, those days are about to be over. And when we're looking at the first wave of these layoffs, guys, remember, these are the good jobs. They already have the technologies that's going to replace the sheep at the lower paying jobs. But I'm talking about the good paying jobs, these tech jobs. They're already being laid off. And the NWO is saving the bottom half on purpose, because at the same time they're going to be getting laid off, that universal basic income is going to make its way in, or high universal basic income, whatever you want to call it. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And these stable coins are going to take over because the power that they have in them, and that's the smart contracts. They're going to be able to tell you what, when, and how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend them, or poof, it's gone. And these stablecoin issuers have to be fintech banks. But then also, they have to buy short-term treasuries, keeping the Fed in control of the money supply. And all the Fed has to do, that's right, is to make a run. And the control ends in the hands of the central banks. And that's definitely the plan. And remember, the crypto teacher tells you. This is biblical. And we have Jenny from Franklin Templeton talking about the fall of the United States dollar. And again, this is a plan and moves in phases. The dollar has always been used as a weapon, especially with these sanctions. We know Russia and China started getting off the dollar back in 2014. We haven't felt that effect yet, just because the central banks are holding things up. But like I told you, looking at the gold price, the dollar is really sitting at 50 cents. So you definitely want to diversify yourself. You don't want to just be sitting in cash. Right now, cash is wonderful. Cash is king. But when they start pulling that rug and that confidence goes globally, we know what's going to happen to that dollar. And again, it's a plan and moves in phases. Trump has to devalue the dollar in order to devalue the debt to get us to a level playing field for this fourth industrial revolution, where they want the machines to take over. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Meta in talks to use Google's chips and challenge to NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is going to lose 10 to 30% of business anyway, whether it be Google or these foreign entities. But we're definitely going to have a planned out chip war, which is going to hurt a lot of these corporations because, again, they're going to let the air out of this bubble, so therefore they can build. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And will the Fed cut or not? And this is the last week for all the talk, and we'll notice it in the bond market and whether they're going to cut or not anyway. We are seeing the labor market get weaker, and we know the Fed is going to look at the labor market more than it's going to look at inflation. And we're starting to see inflation starting to rise also. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with these tariffs. And we have Fed Jerome Powell only a few months away from riding off in the sun. And this economy is going to break down even more in 2026. Remember, the Fed can only cut but so much. And don't forget what Scott Bessent stated. These corporations advise him first or second quarter, we're going to see productivity start to move up. And what does that mean? They're about to turn on the machines. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, so Sarah, here's why this deal matters. It's because Meta is one of the biggest GPU buyers in the world. So if it is exploring billions of dollars worth of TPUs, Google's custom chips, that is technical validation. It's also a major win for Google Cloud because Meta would have to run every TPU inside of Google Cloud. So not just a chip win, it's new revenue, long-term lock-in for GCP, an AI native advantage that Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure, the other hyperscalers, do not have. Now, this absolutely powers the Google bull story. TPUs give Google real efficiency gains. And remember, too, that Anthropic has already committed to expand its usage of TPUs. However, the narrative that TPUs are about to overtake NVIDIA across the enterprise, that's where investors want to be careful. I spoke with Aaron Jin, CEO and co-founder of HydraHost. It's a company, a startup that runs large-scale AI workloads for startups and enterprises. This was his point, which is extremely relevant.
Does an enterprise want a fully integrated solution, or do they want a modular solution? I think that's really the question. Because Google is a fully vertically solution, because the only way you use TPUs is through Google Cloud. And versus NVIDIA is a horizontal solution. It works out of the box. It's a horizontal product. And I think enterprise is drawn to the modular.
So for most enterprises, committing to Google's full vertical stack, that is a tough sell. If they want optionality to be able to plug into NVIDIA or AMD or whatever comes next, being locked into a single cloud is not exactly the right play. And in AI, of course, that leaderboard, it changes extremely fast. Narratives, as we have seen over and over again, they can swing harder than the fundamentals. Just Google itself went from broken to beloved in a matter of months, though the
if you look at initial jobless claims, which are near historical lows, what that tells you, along with continuing claims, is that this is not the A-plus labor market that we've become accustomed to over the last 2 years, but it's still passing. It's not collapsing. That unemployment rate is what we're used to seeing. In fact, it's right around the average for the 5 years leading up to the pandemic. Those low initial jobless claims suggest that we're not seeing massive layoffs, but it is taking longer to find a job. So this is a C+, B- labor market. It's not collapsing. Hiring momentum is weak. That leaves us with a Fed who has to make a real gut call on this, I think, my view, on this number, because it could go either way.
The Treasury reporting that the deficit hits an October record of $284 billion, but with a bunch of asterisks. I think that's the plural. Expenses were boosted by a calendar change, moving some stuff from into October from November of about $105 billion. So that's also an issue, but they were reduced also less than 5% by the shutdown, some payments they didn't have to make. Revenue was boosted by delayed payments from California. Remember, they delayed the requirement that certain payments, corporate tax payments and other payments, be made because of the wildfires. So we got a bunch of that in, so that changed the numbers. Custom duties, I don't think there's an asterisk on this one. They reached an all-time record for any month at $33 billion. So do the math. That's about $400 billion per year in tariff revenue coming in. The previous high was last month at $29.6 billion. Now, another thing on the other side, gross interest on the public debt increasing by $22 billion to $104 billion in October compared to $82 billion last October. It was an all-time record for an October, but not for any month due to increased debt outstanding as well as higher inflation accrual. Brian, just a little note, this report itself was delayed by the shutdown. Should have been out a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. Long COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.